Thank you, Unity Band. Oh, what a lovely way to ease into the morning. Well, welcome to Unity Spiritual Center of Lansing. I'm Reverend Sharon Ketchum. So happy you can join us, and welcome to those of you that are joining us online. So glad that we have this way of connecting when you can't be here in person. Excuse me. If you're with us for the first time, thank you for popping in. I hope you got a little bag of popcorn as a tribute to your first visit with us, and hopefully not the last. By the way, our coffee bar is open during service except next week. Right now, nobody feels moved to make coffee next week, so unless somebody is so moved, we will be drinking water, which is good for us too. Okay. We are a prayer ministry, and if you have anything on your heart, it's a celebration or a concern, our prayer box is over there, and our prayer team will pray with you for the next 30 days. It's by general categories. You don't have to give details. Your names are held in confidential prayer. And then we send it to Silent Unity for an additional 30 days of prayer. Who can't use a lot of prayer support? Let's affirm our mission statement together. We spiritually awaken to our oneness with God, each other, and with all creation. This comes out of our vision as a unity movement to see a world powerfully transformed through a growing movement of shared spiritual awakening, understanding it's not like we're looking for the right answer. We're all growing as we travel our own spiritual path, honoring ourselves and each other. So let us affirm together the idea of this one light and many lamps. The enlightenment of the Buddha shines within us. The compassion of the Christ moves through us. The power of Jehovah strengthens and guards us. The presence of Allah surrounds and guides us. Wherever we are, the Tao is, and all is God. Let's join together. Oh, before we do that, because this week has been quite an unusual week within our government, I thought this might be a good time to just give you a little overview of Unity's position statement on social action. And Unity never tells anybody what to think, but if you want to know what does Unity think about what's going on, here is where the movement stands. Where there are divisions of opinion, beliefs, and perspectives, Unity embraces and cherishes the diversity of gender, age, race, ethnicity, national origin, range of abilities, sexual orientation, gender identity, financial means, education, and political perspective. This commitment extends to caring for our earth home and our environmental sustainability. Where there is fear of another, Unity strives to foster a climate of purposeful inclusion, standing for everyone's right to create a life of their own choosing. Where there is oppression and hatred, we pledge to be an advocate for the well-being, respect, and civil freedom of every human being. Any action that seeks to discriminate against individuals or classes of individuals based on prejudice, stereotypic profiles of national origin, class, creed, race, ethnicity, physical ability, sexual orientation, or gender identity is in opposition to the core beliefs and values established by our founders. So if anybody needs to talk about this, I think there's a group that would like to get together next week following service, or the week after, in a couple weeks. But there's a lot going on, and just always going back to our basic beliefs. There is one power and one presence, and that includes every human being on this planet. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Greg to take us.
The composer is in the room. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
So prayers for our neighbors. There's so much going on in the world. This could be a huge, huge list. But first, our friends down at Unity and Unity East down in Clinton Township, Detroit, their minister passed last week. So we want to hold that ministry in our prayers. It's hard to lose a minister, and then you're going through the transition of bringing in somebody new. So certainly hold them in our hearts. Congratulations to Thailand, who just legalized same-sex marriage, the first one in the Far East. And then mental health is those things we don't talk about. And I don't know if you're a football fan, but Washington Commanders kicker Zane Gonzalez has OCD, and he kicked this winning kick. It hit the goalpost and still went in. But because he's OCD, he does his things. It takes on his helmet and does these things with the socks over and over, and people thought he was nervous. But those were his coping skills. And to be so open about having coping skills to get through a mental difference from the rest of us, neurodiverse, just really, yeah, go for it. I mean, he's a football player. Think about when football players show vulnerability. I mean, it just, yeah, that's a really good thing. And of course, we're still holding in prayers all those impacted by the Los Angeles fire, the people, the animals, the first responders, all of that. And tomorrow is Holocaust Remembrance Day. It's 80 years since they closed Auschwitz. Only 80 years. And yeah, it might not ever happen again. And just in case you're wondering what in heaven's name is going on, the Quest class got a preview of this when we went out to the planetarium. But right now, there's these stars all in alignment, these planets in alignment that you can see the night. Last night, I think, was the prime night to see them. You might be able to get them tonight. So what a reminder that sometimes when things seem chaotic, all the stuff that's going on, the universe has a divine order, and it's saying, here's a reminder, here we are, everything's in order. Okay, and you know what's in order today, I understand, is 2 birthdays. We normally celebrate them at the beginning of the month, but because it's today, actually, Gail, I don't know if you want to say anything more about your birthday. You look gorgeous in blue, and Linda Skillman. So, maybe we could do a little impromptu happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
You're wonderful.
Wonderful.
Both of you.
Happy birthday
to you. And many more. Okay. Now for a little discussion at your table. What are 2 opposing thoughts that you hold? Or maybe if you can't think of 2 opposing thoughts, maybe there's an action or thought that's opposing. You know, it's like when you get up in the morning, you're on a diet, and then your mouth says, I want chocolate. So, yeah, what are these opposing thoughts that you hold at the same time?
That's a great question. The answer came to me right away.
Yeah?
And that is, I have, real serious ethical issues and, with what's going on right now politically. And yet I'm determined to see the Christ in everyone. So those are the 2 things I'm having difficulty reconciling.
Big vessel.
Yeah. How about you?
On that. Well, on a very mundane level, I hate this cold. And yet I so respect and love the necessity for winter.
Yeah. Well, every season has beauty to it.
And there's growth, the secrets are happening under the ground.
Going to Florida doesn't do you all that much good when you get 7 inches
too.
of snow. You can make a snowman on the beach like, one of our congregants did. So.
And holding faith beliefs, I think, at this time, when it feels scary, knowing that there's a oneness and a full presence, I mean,
it's there.
It's growth inspiring. Let's put it that way. Yes, yeah. It's evolution. It's evolution.
Well, we haven't done this opening song for a while.
We haven't, but I thought we needed some light to shine.
Yep, I do too. So let's go ahead and get started with the song. Go out and shine your light. You know the time is right. You gotta go out and shine your light. Go out and shine. Go out and shine. Go out and shine your light. You know the time is right. You gotta go out and shine your light. Go out and shine. Go out and shine. Step out and take a chance. Walk the talk, join the dance. Relax, enjoy the ride. Let kindness be your guide. You gotta go out and shine your light. You know the time is right. You gotta go out and shine your light. family. What's good for you is good for me. Come on and go out and shine your light. You know the time is right. You gotta go out and shine your light. Go out and shine. Go out and shine. Go out and shine.
Time for a lot of light shining.
Hi, good morning. I'm LuAnne Champion, your platform assistant for today. Our daily word is generous, inspired by Paul's second letter to the Corinthians. The point is this: the one who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and the one who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Keeping our heart open elevates our experience of generosity. If we give begrudgingly, fearful of not having enough for ourselves, we are not being truly generous. There is joy and trust in being generous. There is joy in knowing there is no lack at the level of spirit, and my generous impulses are a way of demonstrating my faith in this truth. We place our trust in the spiritual truth that as we give, we also receive. Generosity is a spiritual practice, a commitment to fully participate in the flow of life. As we give generously, we receive the richness of grace, love, and peace. We relax into the flow of synchronicity and receive unexpected blessings. Generosity is the gift we give ourselves. Let us affirm together. I give with an open heart. I am generous. Thank you for your generosity. Speaking of generosity, this ministry exists because of your support, and thank you for keeping unity in the flow. Stacy Ames has your charitable donation receipt for 2024 gifts to Unity. Please see her following the service. Any receipts not picked up today will be put in the mail on Monday. And now it's my great pleasure to welcome Winna Lee for some beautiful music.
This is a long-time favorite song of mine by Lenny Kravitz, Here to Love. We must all unite, for we are one creation. We must join the fight together. Strong. We must do what's right in every situation. Love each other's lives as you would do your own. Just think twice before you cast a stone at someone's soul. Anymore. inside, no walls could separate us. We would be as one because the earth's our home. Just think twice before you cast your stone at someone so is their life. And so the choice is theirs, and theirs alone. We're not here to judge, we are here to love. There's no room for hate. We are just one human race. We must rise above. We are here to love. There's no time to waste anymore. Will we learn from our past? Our clock is running fast. We're not here to judge. We are here to love. There's no room for hate. We are just one human race. We must rise above. We are here to love. There's no time to waste anymore.
I'm curious when that song was written. Anyway, what a beautiful, we're not here to judge, we're here to love. That's a great way to start out a message for Sunday. We are in a series this new year, Stop Seeking and Start Finding, inspired by Jan Phillips' book of the same name. And she talks about us being spiritual evolutionaries. You can only be evolutionary spiritually if you're conscious of what you're doing. This doesn't, you don't wake up one day and go, oh, I'm enlightened. No, you have to start focusing, make conscious effort to make the changes to be able to have that closer connection with the divine. And so many things we have learned growing up were to separate us from others. Even in school, we were in different grades. You're a first grader, you're a second grader. You know, we keep learning these lines of separation, why there are others. And then we get to the point where we have to get rid of all the otherness and get back into our oneness. So it's about stop regurgitating what we learned and start evolving into the truth of who we are, our real identity, and our idea of oneness. So today's spiral day, I talked about spiral dynamics last week, is about living in non-duality. Like we say oneness, we throw that around a lot, but think about the idea of non-duality as oneness. This really calls us where we stand, because we live in a relative world which has a lot of duality, has a lot of this and that, me and others. The greatest illusion in the world is the illusion of separation. That's an interesting thing to think about. The illusion of separation. It's a pretty good illusion, because I can see I'm standing there and Tyson's sitting there. It seems like we're separate. You know, I'm buying into the illusion. And it's a hard thing to grasp the difference between the relative world and the absolute world. The absolute world is that dimension where there is only oneness. There is not even any pretend lines of division, getting into the allness. So I thought I'd give you a couple examples to help you get it, maybe one more centimeter deeper. So here's some individual pictures of Jesus, different statues and stuff. But what this is a close-up of this larger picture. So it's like we see the tiny picture, we can see the flaws, this is out of focus, this is a different color, yada yada. And looking at the little picture with all the imperfections and differences, we miss the bigger picture that has the whole face. These are called picture mosaics, by the way, if you ever want to make one. It's a fun one to make for your family. Here's another one. This is a picture of women. All different kinds of women, pictures of women. And that's when we can focus on that. Oh, that one's pretty. Well, that one's okay looking, or she looks uncomfortable the way she's standing, whatever that judgment might be. But really what this is a blow up with that little part of the eye. We can't see the whole picture because we're so focused on those individual things that each seem so important until you get to the big picture and you see how it all works together. Excuse me. And that frog, that pet frog keeps finding a home in my throat. So with this evolutionary thing, we kind of take the day, breaking up into prayer segments or spiral segments. And we're going to start at midnight, this new day, living in non-duality, kind of how do we get to heaven? Isn't a lot of faith about getting to heaven, that grand reward? And Pope John Paul, many years ago, said heaven and hell are not physical places at all. They're states of being in a living relationship with God, or choosing separation from the source of all life and joy. Course in Miracles says, heaven is not a place nor a condition. It is merely an awareness of perfect oneness and the knowledge that there is nothing else, nothing outside of this oneness, nothing else within. The last one is probably the hardest one for us to take, that every part of us is part of that oneness, because we have that shadow side we like to put away. Okay, I can accept divinity in this part, we just won't let anybody know about that part, separate that out. So here's the idea of spiral dynamics I mentioned last week, and not to go into this in depth, but as we're evolving, it seems like we've already been there, we thought we had that down, but each time we go around the spiral, we're growing in a level of consciousness. So you may have had these thoughts before, and now's the time that because how you've grown, because where you are, you're actually going to get them, it's like all new again, because all of a sudden you get just that little bit deeper, that little bit more in resonance with really knowing within the cells of your being. So as we move on through the spiral of this day, I'm going to take the analogy here, that there is nothing to forgive. God does not forgive because God does not condemn. Think how many times I know growing up I heard, pray for God's forgiveness. There is no such thing because there is no need for it to happen. And of course, the miracle says forgiveness is the healing of a perception of separation, of looking at that little picture in the big collage, of having that wrong perspective on what is going on. When we feel a need to forgive, we are actually creating separateness. Do you forgive your hand because it aches and woke you up last night? Of course not. It's all part of the whole picture. Every time we get to forgiveness, we're saying other, even if that other is ourself. So we can't be separated. Ultimately, in the absolute, we cannot be separated. And this truth that we're learning, we learn it as we live it, and because we live it, because we experience it, you cannot read it in books. And this idea of the absolute truth is totally within us. We have difficulty accessing it because we are so addicted to the relative world, to this world of duality, if you will. So as we move on this spiral, so what's happening? And bear with me on this quote. Marion Woodman, she's a Canadian author, she's a psychologist. She says, we are penetrating and being penetrated by an archetypal ground of being, her word for the divine, in an effort to bring into consciousness whatever it can of the vast unknown. Now that's kind of a lot to chew on. Einstein said, something deeply mysterious has to be behind things. Who thought Einstein would have the simple way of saying it? But think about this, that the idea of being penetrated by the divine and penetrating the divine are not two separate things. They are one and the same. We think of God acting through us acting on the world. None of these things are separate. It's a continuum like a flow of water. The water that is going down the stream and hits the rock and makes a splash is part of that same flow that maybe goes off to the side and gets a grain of sand or dirt. Okay, here's another picture. You can see this montage a little clearer. There's a lot of people in it, a lot of different kinds of people. I can see all ages They're all dressed differently, certainly all different kinds of people. And we can get really connected to each one of those pictures, each one of those individuals. But what this is really is a part of this montage. Think of the picture of an artist's perception of what the spiritual leader named Jesus looked like, and to have it all made up of all these individuals. Talk about seeing the Christ within, seeing the Christ without, too, outside of ourselves. To see the Christ as that whole collection of all humanity. So as we move on in the spiral evolution of new ways of thinking and being and feeling and knowing within us, mid-morning evolution. And this is a Hasidic saying that's the mystical part of Judaism. When the axe comes into the forest, the trees look, upon seeing its handle, say, look, one of us. The axe that is coming into the forest to cut them down, to kill them, they recognize the wooden handle of the axe as one of them. Not separate and apart. Look, it's one of us. Could we have that wisdom? To see, even when something seems like it's detrimental to us, to see that this is part of us. That we're participants, not victims, no matter what the circumstances are out there. And this is very similar to physics, quantum entanglement, that says once things have been connected, they're forever connected. If they're these little spinning quirks and quarks, they could be a world apart and they still, if one changes, the other one changes. There is nothing that stops their connection. And if you go to science, whatever the Big Bang was, whatever started creation, at one point we were all one, and we were still all interconnected no matter how far apart we are, no matter hot or cold or whatever the outside conditions, there is still that same connection that we see at the quantum level. And I think about every time we discover that there's communication, interconnectedness, there's such excitement, I find, for me. When I start reading about how the trees talk to each other and actually send food to each other and water to each other, they change their resources, they need them. The trees are doing this with no help from us. In fact, probably some hindrances from us. It's exciting. So every time we get about this cooperative oneness of communion, of life, what a brilliant, wonderful way it is to feel, and how do we seep that into our day-to-day living and perception? Because we are addicted to dualism. Just flat out, we're addicted, and I don't know of any rehab centers yet to help us unaddict from dualism. Maybe Earth is it. Yeah, so we're going to close the doors and stay here for 90 days until we got it out of our system. If we don't allow showers, we might get the oneness. Yeah. Yeah, we do have showers, yeah. This man, the picture of is a dancer, Sharon. And he was a divinity student, felt the calling back from God, and then he was struck with polio. And he ended up becoming the father of modern dance. But while he had polio, he heard a voice within him saying, dance, go out and dance, dance. And he listened to that voice, and he had to do it, and he ended up doing it and just became a very famous dancer, the father of modern dance. And so if you look at this life, it's like he didn't get healed from studying God. He got healed from embodying God. When he heard the voice, that still small voice within, sometimes it's not so still and it's not so small, but it's real consistent until you listen to it. And it enabled him to heal his body and to go on to use his body in just marvelous ways. There's some old videos you can find on Google of him dancing and doing these things that were so new and extraordinary. Anyway, that is the difference between knowing it up here and actually living it. So we're talking about living non-duality. He knew his body was whole and one, and he was able to realize it so fully that he was able to heal from the polio. So as we move on through the spiral of evolving to live in non-duality, Martin Luther King said, all life is interrelated. We're all caught up in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Didn't he have a beautiful way of words? Whatever affects one directly affects all of us indirectly. Whatever affects one directly affects all of us indirectly. We are made to live together because we are interrelated structure of reality. We're made to live together. So, in the Upanishads, in the Hindu mystical writings, it said, the self is hidden in the hearts of all as butter lies in the cream. Think about that. And if you take milk, churning that cream into butter, it takes a lot of churning. It doesn't just happen. And so with us, when things seem in turmoil and chaos, you could think about that, finding the butter and the cream, churning it. What do we have to go through? What do we have to chew through? What do we really have to work through energetically? You know, that whipping thing in the churn. It takes 21 parts of cream to make 1 part of butter. So think in your own life, if you could find out what those 20 parts that are purely dross, purely illusions of reality, and let them go to get down into that oneness and non-duality. Or after my years in Canada, of course I have to talk about sap to syrup. Maple syrup, on there. 40-1. And I'm thinking, yeah, there's probably a good 40 things I could let go of to get down to the one. Beliefs that are so interrelated, I think they're mine. I've had them for so long, of course they must be true. To really let that all churn up. And the way, you churn butter, but the way you make sap to syrup is fire. A lot of boiling away, a lot of transformation of what is happening, of letting go, of evaporating that which doesn't belong to come to the truth of the syrup. Next time you eat butter, just think you're becoming butter. You're in that cream state right now, and you're working on it. And you get pancakes, you put that syrup on and go, yeah, I'm letting go of all that stuff that I don't need. Moving on to this non-duality. This very grumpy-looking guy, Baudelaire, he's a French poet. He doesn't look like a poet, does he? So grumpy. He says, true genius is the ability to hold 2 contradictory thoughts simultaneously without losing your mind. Now, this morning we all talked about those opposing thoughts that we held in our mind. So I guess we're all geniuses. Here's another one. Scott Fitzgerald, he said, the test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold 2 opposing thoughts in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. Because sometimes when we have opposing thoughts, you're trying to make a decision. And you know this to be true, you know this to be true, and they're totally opposite, and you don't know what to do. So that genius, that ability to be able to move forward in spite of that, not to let it cause us to freeze. To somehow churn it together to find out what is the oneness and connectedness of these 2 opposing thoughts. He said that, for example, one should be able to see that things that they seem hopeless, that there's a determination to make them otherwise. I mean, that's humanity, how we've survived. I was listening to a pastor at one of the churches out in California, who had lost his own house. Of course, he lost the church, and a lot of the congregants have lost their houses. And yet they're still meeting, and they're still casting out into the future. They don't know how. It's none of their business how it's going to happen. But they're able, in spite of this hopelessness, are able to see a possibility. Possibility that things can be otherwise, that things can change. Moving on to this spiral, this day of moving through this idea. Quantum theology. And I don't know how to say his name, Diarmuid O'Murchie, Irish. If I had an Irish accent, I could kind of follow it through. He says, it's a journey into the mystery of belonging where all is one, and the patriarchal dualities and distinctions are seen for what they are, destructive controlling devices that fragment and alienate. That we have a lot of things happen that tell us we're separate. That tell us there should be haves and have-not, because the have-nots don't deserve it, and the haves do deserve it. There's a lot of ideas that say this is the only way you can love. This is the only way you can show up as a person. As far as I knew, nobody checks genitals when you come into the church. We don't know. We show up how we want to show up, right? It's just, yeah. So when we're talking about spirituality, the idea of enlightenment and liberation. Enlightenment is like dissolving all those things that kind of cover the truth. I think about it, when I back up, I have a little camera that shows me on the screen what's behind me. And then we have weather like this and slush. And I look in the camera and it's all foggy and I can't see. So enlightenment is when we can get the light through. We can clean that off, those thoughts in our own mind where we can't see. It feels right, but there's something more behind it. Making that clear vision within us. Because when we can't see, we feel limitations, we feel fears. When I'm backing up without the camera, I don't know about you guys, but I get a little tightness in my chest. I mean, for years, I didn't have a camera. Once I got one, now I think I can't see anymore. I'm limited. I depend on this. I'm afraid I'm going to hit something. I'm going to sin. I'm going to make an error. And then liberation, I love this, is noticing our thoughts that are dualistic. Noticing those thoughts that are distorted from truth and catching them early before we get caught up in buying them and owning them and attaching to them. Basically, it's just that liberation to get to know who we are. God doesn't make garbage. We weren't born in original sin. We were born as a blessing to this world. The universe would not be the same without us. There'd be something lacking. And speaking of these ideas, how many of you have worked with Byron Katie, the work, any of you? She has a very simple process that can go very, very deep. And basically, if you have a belief, how do I know this is a thought distortion? How do I know this is in the realm of dualism? It's still part of the churning or part of the boiling down of the sap. 4 questions. Is it true? I go, of course it's true. Wouldn't have said if it wasn't true. Can you be absolutely sure that it's true? That often comes in when we're assuming other people's motives, why people are doing things. How do you react when you believe that thought? So you have this thought, you're sure it's true. What does it do to your behavior? And then, who would you be without that thought? And it's amazing, some of the most disturbing thoughts that we have resistance to giving up. Sometimes I think the more disturbing the thought, the more resistance to giving it up. We just want to carry that pain with us, if you will. And so as we finish our day into the nighttime of this evolution around this thought, this woman, Marie-Louise von France, a Swiss psychologist, has what I think is just a redeeming thought for me as changes go on in our world. If we can stay with the tension of opposites long enough, sustain it, be too true to it, like don't try to, these two are different. And acknowledge that these two thoughts are different. These two things are very different. And hold that difference. We can sometimes become vessels within which the new divine opposites come together and give birth to a new reality. Isn't that beautiful to think of taking those opposites and holding them in a vessel large enough to allow it to birth into a new reality? So we're going to take a little time to craft our vessels in meditation. I'm going to invite Greg to come up, and we can set the tone by singing Living in the Heart of God.
Appropriate. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God.
we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. Morning sun coming through in the trees, and the green leaves shimmer in the summer breeze. The songbird singing to the honeybees, living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. After the dazzle of day is done, the moon makes love to the setting sun. The stars come twinkling one by one, living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God.
I invite you to breathe. Nothing demanding. Allow yourself to be breathing, to be living, to be here and present. Closing our eyes if that's comfortable for us. Now, blessing and relaxing this magnificent body that made its way through the cold and the ice and the snow to find the warmth of community as we gather here, not in judgment, but in love. It may be true that the one you think of as the grand creator is the breath that you are breathing and the light on your path. It may be true indeed that everything that has ever happened to you has happened for you. Right out of the playbook that you asked for when you asked for a life that was noble and useful. Right now, we all have that opportunity to choose to become the birthing vessel. For taking that illusion of duality, of them and us, of opposing forces, and finding a space within us where we can hold each side. Hold it with integrity, without judgment, allowing it to be what it is so that it may churn or it may boil down, releasing the dross, coming into the trueness of what it really is, that there is nothing to fear, that as always we are stronger together. So if we'd allow ourselves to create that space, to hold it, not to judge, but to love. Not to judge, but to love. Not to try to alter or force, but to allow it to evolve. Holding that space within us so that it might find its harmony. So that it might find in this discord that there is a wholeness that is beyond what we can intellectualize, it is beyond what we can pontificate, it is beyond what we can march for, it is beyond what we cry for. It is beyond a feeling of power and is beyond a feeling of fear. There is a strength within us that will allow us to hold this space until the birthing of a new wholeness. So, whether we think of the Creator, the grand Creator, as the breath which we breathe, or the life that we're living, or the light that shines around us and within us, we are ready to live into our purpose, to be that vessel for birthing. And so it is. Amen.
Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We sleep in dreams both deep and bright, sailing through the velvet night, refreshing the soul to the spirit's delight, living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of
A good reminder. Okay, spiritual practice for the week you might like to indulge in. What is one thing you can do this week to be that vessel to hold opposing points of view? Sometimes the otherness is God. Sometimes it's parts of ourselves. Sometimes it's family, it's others, it's the world. Knowing that whatever we can do, it may seem tiny to us, but every thought is a prayer we started out with today. Helps us to bring our world into its rightful state of wholeness. With that, I get to invite Winnie up to give us a reminder of one of my favorite songs. Yeah, it's just a beautiful sum up.
and their patience with me. Little do you know, I rarely give them sheet music, and look what they do without sheet music. So thank you. And Greg, every week, thank you for all you do. My pleasure. One power, invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power, indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth. As simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angel wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of love. Different is only dangerous when we forget in our hearts we're all the same. We'll remember once we close our eyes to see that such differences were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem or heaven's door. It's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul or it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth or Father Time. Remember, it's just one power that you see, whatever name. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby. The serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandon. It's the love that's most deep. It's one power. Oh.
Now is the time we create a sacred circle of generosity, sacred because we know that giving is a matter of the heart, not of wealth. For those in person in our sanctuary, you can put it in the glass on your table, the glass jar. There is a glass jar to put on, put it in there. Place your gifts of cash or checks. You can also use the QR code on the screen to offer your gift through PayPal. Whether or not you're sharing of financial gifts this week, we invite you to affirm the sacred exchange by placing a hand over your heart. We bless our gifts as we share of our love and our treasure by affirming together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I praise, give thanks, and am glad. We create a circle of generosity by first thanking everyone for their continued loving support of Unity through many channels, electronically, by mail, and in person. Our circle grows with acts of gratitude for these many gifts by sharing of our gifts with others. So a portion of our tithes is shared with local charitable organizations that inspire and bless us. Today is the final day to nominate a favorite local charity who is not a recipient in 2024. Nomination forms are available on the credenza, and there's a mailbox there to deposit your completed form. Posters of nominees will be up next week, and we will vote on our choices Sunday, February 16th. And so now we'll continue with I'm So Grateful.
Great song. Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, 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 I'm so grateful.
Let us take a moment to deeply immerse ourselves in gratitude by collectively blessing the gifts received on your table. Let us affirm together. Given in love, received in love, we dedicate these gifts to do the will and the work of Holy Spirit, and so it is. Amen. We are a very social group here at Unity, and have a team who facilitates the planning and scheduling of our social events. Maggie Bishop and Linda Haston, following Lisa. Thank you. Following service today, they are holding a meeting to work on social activities. Fortunately, they know who they are, right? If social is something you enjoy, they would really appreciate your participation in the planning of future activities. Also, following the service, our board of directors will be meeting in the upper lodge.
So the social team's going right in the activity room there.
Okay.
You want to say that because they can't see me.
Okay, so the social committee is going to go in the activity room, and the board meeting will be upstairs. Speaking of social events, the Super Suppers group is gathering this Wednesday at Falsettos for a no-host dinner. Everyone is welcome, including friends. It is helpful to contact Maggie Bishop or the church office if you're planning on attending to help us reserve enough seats. So we are looking at restarting the prayer chaplain program. Next Sunday, February 2nd, Reverend Grace Nicodemus will be holding an introductory meeting to explain the program and the training. There is a sign-up sheet on the credenza. Please sign if you are interested in exploring the prayer chaplain program.
And Reverend Grace is right over there. You want to put your hand up? Okay.
The February Unity Pulse newsletters are on your tables. Take a copy with you for your easy reference. You'll also notice a chili potluck coming up in a couple of weeks, so stop by the snack table to sign up with your favorite chili. You can also check Unity's website or sign up for the weekly e-news to keep current on what's happening. So let's create a conscious community as we sing I Choose Love, followed by the prayer of protection. Feel free to stand in place or join the circle, and a reminder to be respectful when taking someone else's hand.
Winnelie had no idea I was going to put her on the spot here. She'll get me back later, probably. Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One tie that binds us that can't be undone. I choose love. Key change. Peace on the planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present. It's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One tie that binds us that can't be undone. I choose love. I choose love. We choose love. You rock, you rock. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God is within us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.